Hi, I'm Tim Scales, the Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship and the Center for Economic Education here at Indiana University East. It's my pleasure to introduce you to another episode of In Your Business. We talk to local entrepreneurs, we learn about their business, we learn about why they started their business, how they started their business, some of the opportunities their businesses has provided them and their community, as well as some of the hurdles they've gone through, some of the challenges. To another episode of In Your Business. Today we're going to meet with an entrepreneur that I'm very proud of. I had him in the BOSS program, which is a high school program where I teach entrepreneurship. I had no idea at the time that Kyle was such an entrepreneur already, but you're going to find that out today as he tells his story that being the boss is no stranger to this young man. So Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Kyle, what I like to do is I like to let the viewers get to know you as a person first, and then we'll learn about your business.
Okay.
So, did you grow up here in the Richmond area?
Yep, I was born and raised here in Richmond and been here all my life.
Okay. And as you went through high school, what were you studying?
When I was in lower level, I just studied basic classes, you know, the general classes that everybody took. But later in high school, as I was a freshman, sophomore, junior, I started taking the classes that set you apart. I was taking AP classes. Sometimes I struggled with them, sometimes I didn't, but I was also taking the technical classes. So I was taking construction, drafting, I took an automotive class, but that's what kind of set me apart in the construction part from high school.
So why were you doing that? I mean, you wanted to be a part, why?
I wanted to be a part because I knew I wanted to be a hands-on type of guy. I wanted to be out there and if I wanted to, go out there and build a house. I wanted not someone to be in an office job necessarily. I didn't want to be the person that was everybody hated in the company. I just wanted to go out there and be able to do stuff.
Okay, super. Well, I remember that. I remember when you were in the BOSS program, you were very multi-purpose. And when you had to come up with an idea, you guys had several. And you had two partners in the BOSS program. You guys were the ones who introduced me to the 3D printing. And today the 3D printer is sitting in my office and we have several students doing several things. So you can be very proud to be the one that inspired that here on this campus. But moving forward, Kyle, you're a 2016 graduate of Richmond High School, and you have how many employees working for you?
16 full-time.
You have 16 full-time employees, and how many did you have the day you graduated high school?
16.
So you already had 16 people working for you the day you graduated high school. And do you mind sharing what the average wage is of those people?
I like to pay between $18 and $22 an hour, which I pride myself in.
So your workers make between $18 and $22 an hour, and you have 16 of them the day you graduate high school. Okay. This is going to force me to get right into the business. So Kyle, what are you doing?
In the business?
That's
so we do complete site development. If someone told us, you know, there's a hillside, a blank hillside, turn it into something, we can turn it into a parking lot. Anything that has to do with excavation, concrete, asphalt, or seal coating, or landscaping, we can do it. But we're not a general contractor though, so we can't go out and build a building or anything like that. But we can do the foundations for the buildings. That's something that we can do every day and any day.
So any type of concrete work, so a driveway to a playground to parking lot, anything to do with concrete, you're the company.
We can do full service flat work concrete, so anywhere like driveways, sidewalks, roadways. We can do curbing, decorative and stamped concrete, so if you wanted a paver patio or anything that was stamped. We can do concrete overlays. We can also do basements and foundations.
Okay. How did you start this?
Well, my dad owned a lot of rental properties when I was younger, and so I got started in lawn care because he used to send me out and with a push mower every day and mow all the lawns. And once I started to get a little bit of money, he matched it. So once I had $500, he matched with another $500, and I bought my first walk behind. And it kind of snowballed effect from there. And I continued that until about 2013, and I got out of that because we had an accident with one of the employees and a customer. And then we started in concrete because the city landed us with the job.
Okay. So then in 2013 you started the concrete. This company is your company though, right? You are the sole proprietor in this company?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is no other partnership.
Okay. So tell me about that as well, because I teach business here at the university. I teach business at your high school, and there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, so we have accounting, we have marketing, we have management, we have the hiring, we have the training, we have all these things you have to deal with. How do you deal with that?
Some days I don't. Someone can teach you how to do it, but you're never going to learn until you actually try to do it. Some days, you're working 14, 16-hour days. There's one day where I stayed up to about 48 hours because I didn't make that payroll. I stayed up 48 hours trying to get that done. It's stressful at times. I do have an accounting person that I started subbing out to, so that way I don't have to do about half of the work. But also with the bidding, estimating, marketing, you got to keep the work rolling in, keep the workers busy. It's pretty hard. That's something I pride myself in too, that I'm amazed I was able to continue this long.
So you're the one who goes out, you look at the jobs, you bid the jobs, you sell the client, you secure the job, you hire the worker, you assign them, you're following up, making sure they're doing the job, doing it well, the whole bit.
Yeah, well, I do have 2 supervisors that can go around, check on the work if I happen to be in meetings. And I do have an estimator. If it's really busy or they say that there's 20 jobs we need to get estimated in 2 days, I'll send him out and I'll send myself out. But aside from that, a normal day is I'm doing most of the work, the hands-on on the business side of the work. I won't go out and pour the concrete with them very often though.
Okay, so tell me about the business you're running. Tell me, where are you doing business and what's the volume like?
Yeah, we're staying in central Indiana. We used to do a lot of work in Richmond and the prices aren't there. We're not able to stay as busy as we were when we began. So we're moving over to Indianapolis. The city of Indianapolis is keeping us pretty busy on their sidewalk crews. We've worked in Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and Kentucky, which is pretty big. I would like to be able to keep crews in all of them, but of course we're not there on that level just yet.
Sure. So when you say moving, you mean your footprint. You're staying in Richmond, but your footprint is reaching out to the Indianapolis
our capacity
market.
is able to go from state line to different state lines. So we're not just in Indiana. We do have business relationships in other states.
Okay. So how are you acquiring the jobs? How do people know you?
Well, I'm part of a couple like different contracting groups, like the Blue Group. So you put out a profile, and they'll look at your portfolio of work, and if they like your work, they'll send you an email. They'll say, hey, we got a 2-year contract down here. Can you bid the concrete work? And so I'll say, yeah, sure. And we'll go down there. We'll take a look at it. If it lands it, it lands it. If it doesn't, then we'll look on for another piece of work. Word of mouth is another key. If you do good work and people call you up, they're going to refer you to another friend that's going to call you up. That's another thing that's kept us busy. That can keep us busy in times where the market's down, but yet we're up, which is really nice. I'll tell you that.
Wow, that's incredible. What about season? So I'm sure in your business it's very seasonal.
It's very seasonal.
So what do you do?
Well, we can work up in the spring, fall, and partway into winter. We usually stop around November-ish. When the cold starts moving in, that's when you can't pour any concrete or asphalt. It's going to crack, or the asphalt's not going to cool down enough. So during that, we used to do snow plowing. We still do. This past winter, obviously, we had very, very little snow, so we weren't able to keep busy on that too. That's the one thing that will break any business partner's heart is when you can't keep the guys busy. You got to tell them you got to go home. If I could find enough work that could land us in the winter, if we got into general contracting, that'd be a lot better. But right now, it usually ceases right before winter.
Wow, but you're paying your people pretty well, so I think the individuals probably want to stick to you as much as they can.
Yeah, they're getting top salary.
Okay. Before the show, you and I were chatting a bit about it, and you expressed a concern, I suppose, or an opportunity about where do you get your employees?
Well, you ain't getting them from Richmond. It's one of those things where Richmond's kind of like that mid-state where we're not very popular, but we're also not the lowest of the lowest. A lot of people, they want to have a really good high-paying job that they don't want to work for. So I'm able to pull workers from Indianapolis, Cincinnati, the bigger cities, Dayton even, you're able to pull some pretty good workers from, but you ain't going to get them from the small towns.
But, so you have people actually commuting from Indianapolis to Richmond every day to work for you?
Yeah, so I got 4 guys that are coming from Indianapolis down to Richmond every single day, and then they go right back up to Indianapolis for their work, obviously. That's something that I'm actually amazed that they even want to do. If you got an hour-and-a-half drive coming from Indy every single day and a lot of gas. But
what time do you make them report in?
Usually about 7:30. They'll be at the shop at 7:30. We'll roll out about 8 o'clock. And then they'll work until 5, 6 o'clock, sometimes through 10 o'clock.
Okay.
It depends on how busy you are.
You have your own shop?
Yep. So we're leasing a shop on South 5th Street, and then we have another shop on Henley Road.
Okay. Wow. Kyle, I mean, you're right out of high school, and I mean, you just recently turned 19 years old. You're employing all these people with great wages. You're making such a huge impact. That's something you should very be proud of.
Appreciate that.
And what's your future? What do you see?
Well, I want to grow. Obviously, anybody wants to grow bigger. It's always hard. Sometimes the bigger is not better. When you got to manage a lot more employees and keep them busy, if the work stops, you're laying off hundreds of people or tens of people, it doesn't matter. And that puts a bad reputation on you. But I would like to be able to stay in the Midwest and be a regional contractor for the Midwest. That'd be pretty nice. We've landed contracts for like Vectren, IPNL, Richmond Power and Light, and things like that. If I could land more contracts for like American Water all throughout the Midwest, that'd be perfect.
Okay. Wow. I mean, it's fascinating just to hear you tell your story. What has probably been the biggest thing that you're the proudest of? What's been something that really happened that you just said, wow?
So last year, actually in the 2014 transition to 2015 year, we landed a Vectren contract. I was talking with the regional manager for Vectren, and they were looking for a contractor that could do a long-term relationship with them. So we landed a 5-year contract with them, and we were working all over Richmond last year with another contractor for them, Case Construction, and we were doing all their sidewalks. So I was able to keep 12 full-time guys busy all last year and 4 more years from last year. So
all while you were a junior in high school?
Senior.
You were a senior in high school.
Yeah, I was just a junior into a senior.
How did you do it? How in the world do you balance high school studies and run such a successful business?
Well, it's kind of like sports. You know, you got to be able to balance that, you know, like you said, balance that life perfectly. Some nights you're not doing your homework as well as you thought, and some nights you're doing it perfect, but then you're not getting your business done. Honestly, I don't know how I was able to do it, but somehow it happened. Miracle.
Your grades didn't suffer.
No.
And I know you're very good academically.
Honor roll. I was honor roll from sophomore all the way to seniors.
Wow.
I was pretty amazed.
You're just the perfect role model for any and all entrepreneurs. And what's been the biggest struggle for you?
I would say finding work. Obviously, when you're first starting out, you don't have that money flow coming in. And to be able to get the money flow to buy your equipment and tools and pay your full-time guys, you got to find that work. Your first 5 years in business is always going to be the hardest. That's the number one thing I can give anybody advice on is it doesn't matter what anybody tells you. Some people are going to be successful, some people aren't. You could go 4 years strong standing, and in your 5th year you could die out.
Right.
Do good work and have good word of mouth. You can keep pretty busy all year long. Mess up on 1 or 2 jobs, you might be done for.
Wow.
That's the hardest thing.
Well, if there's any entrepreneur that I can sit here and say, you know, I'm very proud of, it's you. I really enjoy entrepreneurship, and I think they do great work. But you're just setting it on fire, and I think you should be very proud.
Thank you.
We'll return with another entrepreneur. So let's continue within your business, where I'm going to visit with Katie. And Katie's an interesting entrepreneur because she works out of her home. She has children, and she's able to have her family and her business all under one roof, and she's doing stuff that she really enjoys. Katie, before we get to know your business, let's also get to know you.
Okay.
And so Katie, when you were growing up as a young child, what was you thinking you might like to do?
Everything. Marine biologist, ballerina. I could not dance to save my soul, but it was on the list. For the most part, I really thought that I was going to write and illustrate children's books. And that was, my parents had stacks and stacks of them that I worked on. That was what I'd do. I'd come home and put away my school stuff and sit down and come up with some new tale.
Okay.
So
you were interested in writing children's books?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time at the library, and it was reading was just very prominent in our house.
Okay.
It was a huge part of my childhood, and I just thought, oh, that's amazing. They get to create anything, and I was fascinated by the people who wrote their stories and did their own art, and I just thought that has got to be the coolest job you could ever have.
Sure.
So
then as you transitioned from high school into college, what were you thinking at that time that you might like to do?
I was really interested in going to art school. I had a really hard time focusing that. I was primarily interested in painting, but there's the question of, do I just want to do painting? Do I want to get into art history, art therapy, art teaching? So I had a really hard time narrowing that down.
Okay.
And I left the area for a year. I came back, and I got interested in doing elementary education. I attended IU East for that for a while and continued to take art classes here, which were wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
So the art program at IU East is really strong, I feel, and that was a really positive experience. So it's just always been, art has always been a huge chunk of my identity and joy.
Okay. So I feel like your business represents art very much, though.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and tell what the business is.
I make stuffed animals, dolls, animals. I use vintage patterns sometimes, or patterns from independent designers. So other, small home-based businesses, we support each other that way. I do primarily upcycled, so old sweaters, blankets, vintage fabrics, vintage clothings that you find. I incorporate those into my designs. Sometimes new, there are beautiful, beautiful fabrics out also. So it's not always vintage or upcycled things, but I try to incorporate that as much as possible.
Okay.
Which also is better for, it's better for the earth. Those things are then not going into landfills possibly, and it keeps the pieces really, really one of a kind, which I think when people shop handmade, that's a huge draw, is that it's nobody else is going to have this doll. No other little girl is going to have this. No other little boy is going to have this.
Okay.
It's completely just yours.
Okay. So you have some product here. So the horse, for instance, this is something that you've created.
Yes.
So tell me about this. Tell me about the horse, the fabric, the material.
The main fabric, the pink fabric, is vintage, a vintage cotton. The rest of it, that is a design from a pattern maker out of Australia. And she's wonderful. It's one of my most popular designs, especially the unicorns. I do horses and unicorns. The unicorns are really, really popular.
Okay.
Even I have little boys and they love the unicorns. So, which kind of surprised me. That's something that typically you think, oh, little girls are going to love that, but they love it.
No, I think unicorns are good. So, and what else do you have here?
Well, this dinosaur, he is the same designer as the horse, and I feel terrible. That name is slipping me right at this moment.
Okay.
But he's pretty popular. This is a lumberjack. He's been a little well-loved. He belongs to one of my little boys. He's on loan for the day. He is a design I came up with. He's my own design, and features all sorts of upcycled vintage sweaters. His little boots are leather, real leather. So he's pretty. He is one of my newer designs. He's came out last fall, and he was pretty popular. He's been pretty popular over the holiday season.
Okay.
He was out right in time for Christmas. So
Okay.
he's been pretty exciting.
Okay. So your business is called Ribbons and Robots.
Yes.
And is there a reason why?
I have always really liked robots. I'm making a mess, Tim.
It's okay.
I've just always really liked robots. Number one, I think that they are just so cool and kind of kitschy, and they can be fun, they can be fearsome. You never know. You can do anything with them. The ribbons part, I just wanted something that could kind of appeal to, boys and girls, parents of boys and girls. I didn't want it to be just a narrow, dolls, or, dinosaurs or something like that.
Okay.
I wanted it to be something very open that I could build on and kind of include everybody.
Okay. So when did you start Ribbons and Robots?
It'll be 4 years ago this coming July was when I first started. I was pregnant with our second son, and I really thought, I would like to do something so that I can also be home with our kids. My husband works and was in school full time at that time, and it was really important to us that one of us be a stay-at-home parent. But it was also important for my sanity that I have something to do.
Sure.
For myself, if nothing else. And I thought, you know, there's never going to be better timing for this. So I came up with, I think it was maybe just two or three things, and kind of hit the ground running with it. I started out on Etsy, actually, which I've since shut my Etsy down so I could focus more on local sales, but it's been just a nonstop, you know, just a whirlwind learning experience. It's something I never really thought of myself as capable of doing, and then all of a sudden you're doing it.
Sure.
You know.
So you dove right into entrepreneurship. You start the business, and you said you started small, but you keep continuing to grow it.
Yes.
You're busy. You're doing fine.
I've been very fortunate. It's a lot of hard work, but you know, a lot of good fortune also.
Sure.
So we've had a lot of help along the way.
Okay.
So
and how long does it take you to make something?
when I first started, that horse probably would have taken me 3 days, start to finish, to do. Now I can cut it all out, knock it out in one.
Okay.
In half a day, sometimes even.
Okay.
So I've
Wow.
really, that part has come a long way.
So that's great though, because that's a customized toy. So many people just have to go in and buy something off of a shelf, but this is truly handmade.
Absolutely.
You're making it and putting a lot
Absolutely.
into it.
It's all 100% start to finish me.
Okay.
My dining room table is my workstation now. I've completely taken over our dining room as my studio.
Okay.
So there's just fabric. My kids love it. They go in and they look through all the fabrics and help me make my choices for my things, and so that's a lot of fun to kind of incorporate, what the kids actually like versus just what I think they're going to like.
Mm-hmm.
That's very helpful. It's a lot of fun.
Well, you're like a hidden treasure because, I'm from Richmond. You're from Richmond. Didn't know each other.
Right.
I was downtown and I asked John Veach, tell me about some local entrepreneurs. And your name came up right away. And John said, I'm going to show you some product. John has your product in his store at Veach's.
That was like a highlight of my life. I mean, it's Veach's. If you know the area, if you're from Richmond or you just know the area, you understand what a huge deal Veach's is in our community.
Mm-hmm.
And when that opportunity came up, it was like, like I said, that's something I never thought my products would be on a shelf like that.
Sure.
It was huge, and they have been so, not just, by carrying them, but just they've been so encouraging and have really afforded me an opportunity to learn and grow in ways that I thought would be years and years and years down the road for this.
Okay.
So it's a thrill.
Sure. And I find it very interesting how that partnership works because, past years, two people would have had to meet. Maybe they've had a broker bring them together, such.
Right.
But today, with social media and such, as it is,
Right.
you shared with me that you just received an email from Sherry Veach.
Yeah, asking, we want to kind of start this initiative, get local artists involved, and, would you be interested in this possibly? And of course, I jumped at the chance. I mean, who wouldn't?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it's Veach's. They're wonderful. So, and it just, I feel like we just really hit it off, from the get-go.
Sure.
So it's been very exciting. It's been a very exciting couple years working with them.
Great. So I know you're working with Veach's. How else does a person acquire your product?
I do take a limited amount of custom orders every month. I cap it at 3 a month so that, I can get people's pieces to them quickly on a timely basis. And the best way, if you're interested in a custom piece, is to just email me. I'm on Facebook. I'm not hugely active on Facebook, but I can be reached through there on Ribbons and Robots, or just through my email address, which is ribbonsandrobots@gmail.com. So that, that is something I continue to do. When I started, I only took custom pieces.
Okay.
So it's fun, but like I said, in order to make sure that I can get things to people without them having to wait, I cap it at 3 a month now.
Okay.
So.
Interesting. So what is your future plans? So you're going to do a storefront of any type? You're going to continue to be at the home, or what do you see happening?
Well, I will probably continue to be just home-based while our children are, we have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. So at least until we've got them both kind of established in school, I will probably just continue to be a home-based business. One of my goals for this year is to start, re-upping my online presence as a shop. I'd like to revamp my storefront, maybe, completely change the way I've been doing things on the internet, which is to say I haven't been doing much at all on the internet. So
Okay.
I'd like to bring that back. And I do a few local events a year.
Okay.
I'm kind of out in the community as much as I can be.
Well, sounds like you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This concludes another episode of In Your Business. Today we visited with 2 interesting entrepreneurs. One right out of high school, literally 1 month out of high school, doing a great job with concrete business. Got lots of contracts already. He has 16 employees. And the earnings of those employees, but it's skilled labor. It's people he's having to really manage and make sure he gets the best professionals going. Then I have a home-based business that shows how you can make your interest and what you're really passionate about turn into a business, which is what Katie has done. And she is not only helping herself and her family, but she's helping a community. She's making customized toys that are available at Veach's. I would go in and check them out and then reach out to her if you're interested. But it's always interesting to learn what entrepreneurs are doing in our community. Thanks again for watching In Your Business.